Hello, it is time for another nutrition review. This is an article that was published on June 4th, 2019, and it was also announced June 4th on Good Morning America. And they announced that there is no evidence that white meat is better than red meat, according to a new study. Now, this is a study on the effects of red meat, white meat, and non-meat protein sources on atherogenic lipoprotein measures with low and high saturated fat. So atherogenic, looking at arteries and how the arteries stiffen, change, or are clogged. This is by Nathalie Bergeron et al., and this is in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition. First of all, as always, I like to start with funding sources. This was funded by the National Institutes of Health, NIH, and the National Blood and Lung Institute in the United States. Two of the authors do have grants from the Dairy Management, but they state that those grants were not used for this publication at all. So let's talk about what this study did. What this study did is this took both males and females between 21 and 65 years of age and a very wide range of BMI from 20 all the way up to 35% BMI. And when we looked at this, what they did is they kept, and it was a blinded study, and what they did is they put people in one of two groups. The group was either low saturated fatty acids or high saturated fatty acids. High saturated fatty acids were given by giving a lot of high fat dairy, a lot of butter, so increasing the amount of those saturated fatty acids that were given to the people. Now, the people in this clinical trial, the participants, they were kept in those two groups, but then they each spent 4 weeks on either a red meat diet, a white meat diet, or a plant protein diet. And they spent 4 weeks on that. Then they had a washout period where they ate their normal diet, and then they went to one of the other types of meat. So every single one of them tried red meat, white meat, and plant protein sources. This is a great study in that you're not looking at certain people that are just on one. You let everyone be on the different types of protein sources to really compare and contrast those, which is absolutely wonderful. And what they found is that when we're looking at these between the high and the low saturated fatty acids, it didn't matter if you were on red meat or white meat for large sized LDL. They did see a difference in the small and the medium sized LDL, but there was no difference in the large LDL. That's what they reported on. And they also reported that large LDL does not change cardiovascular disease risk. So, though there was no difference in large LDL, that's not something that's going to cause cardiovascular risk. So, really, they're showing that for something that doesn't show cardiovascular risk, that red meat and white meat are the same. Now, LDL was definitely lower with the plant protein sources. So what they found is this goes with the current guidelines that we should increase the amount of plant protein sources and plants and fruits and veggies that we eat and lower the amount of red meat. Now, some of the negatives for this is they did not include fish with this. They just included for white meat poultry, so turkey and chicken. Again, they have no evidence that says that you should choose red meat over white meat when it comes to large size LDL that does not have cardiovascular risk. They do point out, though, that there are other red meat metabolites that are absolutely known that increase cardiovascular risk. And the heme or the iron in red meat also increases cardiovascular risk because that heme is different than what we get in white meats. So they have not seen any of those connections so far with white meat. It has not been published. But we do know that there are definite metabolites in red meat. So they just said with large size LDL, There's no difference. All right, guys, this leads me to believe that it's okay to continue eating white meat. There's nothing that shows that it's going to be harmful to your cardiovascular risk where there are known metabolite factors in red meat. Thanks so much. We'll see you again soon.